talking with Brenda Liddiard, who is a singer-songwriter in her own right, and it's a real pleasure to have you here. Lucy Kaplansky said that there's a feeling I get when I'm singing my own words rather than someone else's that makes for a deeper, more emotional experience. And I write to get that feeling, that level of feeling. And I want to know how you relate to that comment.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, I think that I like to write about stuff that I know. So I write out of my own experience. I'm not the sort of songwriter that thinks of a story. You know, some people, they imagine a story and they write as if they were that person. But I don't tend to, I've hardly ever done that. And I'm just not terribly imaginative in that way, you know. I write out of what's happening in my own life, or what has happened in my own life in the past, or, you know, occasionally maybe something that I read or see a film about or television or something will move me to want to write about it. But usually it's in a way that I want to write about it because I connect with it in a way that I feel is really personal to me. So in a way it becomes part of my story, if you like.
Do you ever play covers anymore, or are you doing almost all your own work now?
The only time I play covers is at parties or festivals or jam sessions or something. No, in concerts it's all my own stuff now.
Yeah. And so what are the influences that have turned you on to writing your own music? I mean, this is a really broad question, I know. There'd be lots of influences, but you know, what was your kind of initial influence to go that way?
Well, I started writing in my mid-20s, and I think I wasn't really moved to in a way that was really deep at the time. I think it was something that I fancied, you know, because people write songs, so I should write songs, you know. I thought it'd be a good thing to do, to write songs. It wasn't until I got involved in the environment movement when I was living in Australia in the later 70s, and I found out what made me feel passionate. You know, I hadn't experienced real passion or commitment to something until that time, and that was what really made me into a songwriter. I mean, I'm not writing about that kind of stuff anymore, but that was the initial thing. Yeah. So standing in a rainforest and watching trees be cut down, you know, that had been standing for hundreds of years, and feeling the pain, you know, of the forest, and that was what made me into a songwriter. That stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had something to say.
Yeah, I really found, before that I was kind of really fishing for things to say, you know, it was a bit of introspective, you know, love stuff and all of that kind of thing that people write about, but which is fine, you know, you write about whatever's happening in your life sort of thing, but finding something that felt really important to write about, that was a different thing altogether.
Yeah. Neat. Now, this next question is, what are your intentions when you write a song and create the music?
Yeah, I find that a difficult question because I'm not aware of intentions, really, except very occasionally. Very occasionally I will be wanting to write a song for a particular purpose. For
sort of like the White Crosses, maybe. That's that awareness of...
Yeah,
you know,
that's an awareness. I don't know that it was really an intention when I started. It was like, I mean, that song came from just a series of thoughts that were kind of not actually related until I looked at them and thought, oh, okay, actually, they are. actually related and I could put them together. But I didn't think, right, I want to write a song about. You know, I don't often do that now. I mean, I used to when I was writing protest songs for the environment and anti-nuclear movements. I did do that quite often with intention. Okay, there's a nuclear submarine coming into Sydney Harbour next week. I'm going to write a song to sing at the rally or something. You know?
Yeah. But also, maybe there is, not subliminal, but there would be intentions that you want to reach your audience's emotional level.
Oh, yeah, that's a different sort of intention. I think, yeah, well, in that case then I suppose the intention is to reach people with something that I feel is a reality in my life, or that is important somehow, and that and also I think I have an intention as a songwriter to try and, if you like, nudge people to feel things more deeply.
Because some of your songs are really deeply felt, and they make me cry.
Yeah, people say that a lot, and it worries me sometimes. I do have a tendency to write fairly miserable
Well, no,
songs.
I wouldn't say that. I think you reach you reach quite deeply into emotional content, of your own, but it's also touching that deeper part of other people's emotional content.
Yeah.
So, which is, I mean, it could be considered morbid, but it's not. It's really, it's very poignant, and it actually does the business, I think.
Yeah, melancholic sometimes. Okay, Mark accuses me of being melancholic sometimes.
And then you can throw in a completely different song. So, I've listened to a great variety of your music. And, now, here's another question. How do you approach music? It's sort of like, what's your sort of, this is generic really, so your attitude towards it, your writing and using your imagination, the whole kind of process, I would imagine this question is about the process and your enthusiasm for being a songwriter.
Yeah, I think I stress less about being a songwriter these days than I used to, I mean, I might not, I don't, some people sit down and they try every day to write something, I remember reading about Patty Larkin, how she, every day, well, probably not every day, but, most days she sits down and she writes songs, or she writes in order to come up with new songs. She's really disciplined about it, and I'm not the least bit disciplined about it. I write when I feel inspired to write, and I'm not writing as many songs now as I have done at some times in the past, and I'm not worried about that.
So they come when they come.
They come when they come.
So your imagination just turns itself on when you feel like, when it's sort of
I write when something comes to me that I feel I need to write about. I'm not bothered about writing for the sake of writing, and then I'm not under pressure to write either. A lot of songwriters are under pressure to come up with another album in the next 12 months or whatever it is. And if I was in that situation, then I probably could do that. But because I'm not, I write when I feel like writing. When something comes to me that I need to feel like, I've got to feel the need to write. I've got to feel it. It's got to come from inside somewhere. That I need to write about this kind of thing. And as I get older, that need is not quite as strong.